Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the Louisville Leopards, Rob Johnson. Robbie!
What's happening, guys?
How are you? Where are you?
Just in one of the studios over here.
It looks like you're ready to teleport to a planet off of Star Trek, man. That's
Yeah,
sweet.
it looks like you have
looking.
an aquarium in the background. You're about to be bull rushed by Jaws or something.
Darn right, guys.
Did you set all that stuff up yourself? That's awesome.
It's already been set up. We have some stuff going on today for the city of Louisville, and on top of the YSN sports family, I do a little bit of news and information for the city of Louisville. After we lost the Louisville Herald, they lost their way of communicating, so I kind of picked up that and threw it over my shoulder and said, "Let's go."
Rob, I have to admit, you've been one of the greatest additions. And I told you that yesterday. We're so happy to have you. You do such a good job. Louisville loves you. You bleed blue. There's no doubt about it. This run has to be it's a dream come true, right?
Oh, but no doubt about it. Next to probably the run that they made a couple of years ago, and then the '07 state finals team for football. This is the cat's meow for Louisville. I still remember back at the field. It was actually at the Civic Center a few years ago, and the guys were playing, and the crowds that the Louisville community was drawing was just unbelievable. And that was really a good young team that obviously Ashton and Bo and BG and all those guys were freshmen on that team. You had Tyler Bolden, who was a solid player. But, Louisville, this is just – I expect a huge crowd at the Canton Fieldhouse coming Sunday. And there's no doubt in my mind that it'll be like it was in Massillon, where the crowd was 2/3 Louisville.
Rob, we talked on the show earlier this week. I don't know if you caught it, about the gap between games and how me and DJ don't feel like it needs to be this big of a gap between regional finals, state semi, and then you have to wait another 6 days before,
right,
5 days before you even play a state championship. What's your take on that? Do you think it's nice to have these kind of lulls before the big games, or do you think it could be expedited a little bit?
I'm kind of mixed on it. Obviously, you guys know as well as I do, spring sports, you've got, a good example is the baseball team's waiting on Tate Aljancic. So he's an outstanding pitcher, and you've got guys that play baseball, and there's quite a few baseball players on this team. You've got the opportunity a little bit more to prepare for your next opponent, which is an advantage for the basketball teams, so to speak. But I also know that there's that let's ride the wave, man. Let's keep going, next up, and I know that it's a little bit different with the state experience, and I know 7 divisions has a lot to play into it, but you talk about the fact that these guys, they're ready to play today. You know what I mean? These guys are so dialed in. I know at least the Louisville kids right now are so dialed in that they would take it on today. But you also, I think you're missing a little bit of that, play Thursday, Friday in the semis, and then play in the championship on Sunday, and let's rock and roll. And I do miss a little bit of that, having chased some of the other Stark County teams down to the state finals. It was just a whole atmosphere for the whole weekend.
Louisville earlier, Rob, this year took a trip out west, what kind of a once-in-a-lifetime trip. And there was a lot of people wondering why. And now they sit here in this Final Four, and I think the question has been answered. Do you feel like that trip out west really helped this team battle both the physical and the mental demons that you can play against anybody?
Oh, absolutely. And you got to really look at the whole picture, because that team went out there, I think every team in that tournament or that series out there was like all top 20 teams in the nation. And, Louisville went out there with the mindset, let's go win this thing. And then all of a sudden BG goes down and played one quarter out there. Well, they had to go out and find another scorer, another guy that can play. And they found out they have more than just one guy. Tate Aljancic stepped up big. Avery Andrachik stepped up big. You've got guys on that roster from top to bottom that in a moment's notice, I mean, we found it out in the regional finals when Bo Siegfried got in foul trouble. Guess what? Next guy up, here comes Devin Bailey making big three-pointers in overtime and getting an and one in the regional finals. You know what I mean? It's just one guy after another, and you can't just focus on, obviously, everybody thinks about BG and Bo, but it's not. I mean, here, if it wasn't for Ashton's defense, guarding sometimes their best player on the other team, this whole thing's a team effort. And they really had to find that out in California. I truly believe that as much as I don't ever want to see a guy get hurt or have to be out, I think it helped this team because they found out who they were.
And as we're talking about big moments in the season that propelled this team forward, in my humble opinion, you have the best call in the YSN season, bar none, in the buzzer beater, against the number one team in the state of Ohio. Take us behind the curtains a little bit and what it was like to go through that game as a broadcaster and what you saw from your lens and how magical that buzzer beater shot was.
Well, first and foremost, the arm hairs were standing on end and you're trying to hold back and be call it both ways, you know what I'm saying? But you still have that Louisville Leopard pride, being a Leopard myself, and you see the play kind of happening and moving through, and then all of a sudden, they actually fouled him on that play. BG got fouled. They were kind of as he came around the corner, he was wrapped up, and somehow he flipped the ball up and it went in, and just like all the emotions of that whole game and back and forth, and it was just like, wow. And of course you heard the results on the air, and it was just incredible.
Rob, I got to ask you this because this popped in. Ryan says, if every community had a Rob Johnson, America would be a significantly better place. Go Leps. When you hear stuff like that, and that's not the first time that I've heard it, there is such a clamoring, a thirst for what you do in that community. Why is that, and how does it make you feel?
Well, I learned from a couple guys years ago, and it had really nothing to do with broadcasts. I had a football coach that I helped coach with years ago that was just a great man, and Ben Singer, and it was all about the kids. It was all about making sure that we made and did everything we could to make them not just good athletes, but good human beings, and doing everything we could do to help them succeed. And my ex-father-in-law, who I still talk to from time to time, Tom Futo, who was a coach at St. Thomas and a big coach, a couple state title wins over there at Hoban. And then on to college. But his whole goal in life was to, it wasn't about the accolades for him. He put like 30-some kids on scholarships for kicking and punting. And all he asked was for a signed picture from all the kids. And he has them all up in his basement. And, it's so funny how those two guys, just the inspiration I had from those two guys to really try to help the kids and help the community and do the things that we can to make the community a better place and a positive place, just kind of rubbed off on me. And, I love my community. I love Louisville. I love Stark County. I mean, you guys know that. And it's just one of those things that you just want to see it be a better place. You don't want all the negativity that's going on everywhere else. And that's why I do what I do.
I love watching the crowds at Louisville. You've talked about them a couple of times here in this interview already. Can you talk about what it's like to be in that gym, especially the hometown gym, and to just look around every now and then when you're broadcasting and see the kind of support this team gets from the community?
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, it is amazing Well, it's almost expected now. And I'll tell you what, we've got a great team this year, but the team coming up behind it is pretty solid too. The cupboard's not bare. You've got a good group coming up. And Louisville, at this point, you expect a home packed house. And the energy you get in there, I truly believe, you have a packed house for freshmen and JV games. It's not just the varsity level that they're there to watch. They want to see, the kids at the freshman level, a Brandon Sanders and a Drake Wilson and some of these kids that are freshmen that have actually been starting to participate on the varsity level already. And you see these kids play freshmen, then you watch them play JV, and he's just it's just unbelievable the support that Louisville loves these kids and just the gym being packed when we play a St. Ignatius or Richmond Heights. I mean, we put the YSN stream up in our cafeteria and have to broadcast it because it's standing room only, and people are down in the cafeteria watching us call the game from in the gym. It's nuts.
That's insane. That is unbelievable. I love that. Communities
Oh,
like Louisville, you can't just grow them, right?
no.
It's something that I hate to say it like this, but it's old world. It is the way things were when I was in high school, when they're before this thing
Oh,
it was
yeah.
invented. Like that's where you showed up at. That's where you got your news from. That's where you got the scuttlebutt, and then you watched the heroes of your community come together and battle against the heroes of other communities. And that's why we started at YSN, because I mean, there's people that move away. Sometimes, I mean, obviously the manufacturing has gone away from this area, and there's people all over the country, all over the world that want to know what's going on with their community, and now they can do that with what we do. And we get so many people saying, thank you for broadcasting these Louisville games for us, because otherwise we wouldn't know what's going on, other than a write up the day or the night after it happens. So,
Well,
Rob, what you do is so important.
I appreciate it. And I got to tell you guys, it's so funny you say that because so much of this here at Louisville, and I know with you guys over your way, it's generational too. You talk about, I talked about Wilson's and Al, you got Al Jansix and you got Bureks and you got all these Siegfrieds, you got all these generational kids that their dads have been solid players. I mean, I know Tom went to Alliance, but his uncle Jason was a stud at Louisville. You know what I mean? And you just get these guys that just generation. We actually have family members that will say, "Hey, we watched you on YSN. We were on our Caribbean cruise, and we were able to watch the Leopards, so they loved it. It's just great. We get them
No, I
all."
love it. Everything you've done has been incredible, and obviously there's, like I said before, there's a thirst for what we do, for what you do, for Louisville. And okay, so here's my last question, because I know this is a tough one. We've been on these rides before to
Right.
state championships. Man, you hate to think about what happens if you lose. You always want to think about what that call is going to be like if you win. For you, do you already have that banked in the back of your mind? And then how much of a gut punch would this be for you if this ride ended up in not winning a state championship?
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, number one. But
I don't want to be the pessimist, but I mean,
no, I get it. But I've always gone with the emotion. So a couple years ago, we had a really solid girls team. In fact, I thought they had a good chance to go to the promised land. And we lost. And actually, I was broadcasting the game on YSN. We did it was a buzzer beater, and it was a tap in off of a missed shot by Hudson. And I just remember just telling the ladies, "Hey, man, it's been an honor and a privilege to cover you." And you got to go from the heart, because that's where it's at. You can't necessarily prepare for that moment, because there's too many times I've tried to write things down and it just doesn't fit the moment. You just got to roll with what's in your heart and what's in your head. You know, now obviously you got to be careful about what you say on the air, but you know, I always try to keep it, straight from the heart.
Hey, if you drop an F-bomb when they win the championship, I don't think anybody's going to blame you, buddy.
No, I'm pretty sure that I might get away with that, especially after our call at the Richmond Heights game when they said he with Tate in the set.
And you got anything left?
No, I'm good, DJ.
Rob, I can't thank you enough, man. We are all rooting for you, and we are rooting, obviously, for Louisville this weekend and on forth into next week. Go blue, right? I mean, this has got to be an incredible journey.
I tell you what, I'm excited. I've talked to so many people about this team, and it is a total team. I mean, every turn you've had a different name, whether it's Devin Bailey with a big shot, or BG or Bo or Avery Andrade coming off the bench for 24 points. I mean, it's been a different guy, and it's been an exciting ride. And I hope it's state title or bust. You know what I mean? But we're excited over here, and I'm sure you'll see a big Navy crowd over there at Louisville.
Hopefully, we can get a couple more of those big bangs from RJ.
Amen,
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for stopping by. Good luck this weekend. Let us know if you need anything, okay?
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
You got it, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Johnson. I love having Rob on the show because it's like he's in his comfort zone there. And then when the game turns on, he's just like one of those sirens that they had back in the day whenever there was bombings happening. Right. Not that you want that, but that's he gets cranked up. He is ready to go. And, he does. I mean, he's great at what he does. Certainly.